Hi everyone, my name is Ricky Burton Romero, and I am a relatively new card maker. I have been making my own cards for over a year and have watched many YouTube instruction videos. I decided that I would like to try my own videos. This is my first video, so please bear with me, they will get better with time. Okay, so here we go. I'm making a card from the Stampin' Up set Eastern Palace, I believe is what it's called. It just recently came out. I chose this because it's the last thing that was on my desk and I thought it would be easy to use. Here you'll see me using one of the dies, and I'm actually cutting out some glitter gold paper from MFT stamps. I sped this up a little bit because this was always boring to me in the videos, is watching someone use the big shot. Um, and so I I start to take out this die. It's very intricate, and I was having a little issue, so I sped that up as well. And I took an X-Acto knife and actually started poking out the little pieces, and you'll see it here in a second. But I sped it up a fast because you didn't want to watch that. And then when I was done taking out all the pieces, I cut out the shape inside because I didn't want it to be inside the paper. And then I continue on to the next piece of paper. I believe I pull some purple cardstock out from this set. Yes. And I'm using another die in this. I cut out the little pieces. I find that I waste less paper this way. I'm kind of a paper hoarder. I'm really bad about it. So I try to save as much paper as I can. And also as a card maker, I feel kind of bad that I'm using so much paper. So many trees are being killed. So I'm placing this back up on the big shot. I speed this up, I believe, because again, it's very boring to me and probably to you as well. And then once I get this out, it is actually, this one's pretty easy to do, but I still cut it out of the paper because I just want the shape that's on the outside. And I believe I speed that up for you oh, maybe I didn't. So I'm cutting out each piece. You really can't see it because it's not close enough for you, I don't believe. But I actually go through, I think, all the way through except for the last one. And then I have an issue with taking it off. And then I realize, oh, there's a few more that I need to do. So I'll play around with this a little more, trying to get the piece out. And I believe there it is. I finally get it loose. And then I move on to my next piece. I believe I am cutting this out of the gold MFT paper as well. These two dies here, I actually placed that on a piece of paper. It didn't fit, so we just skipped to another piece being cut out. And what I'm going to do here is place the smaller die inside of the bigger die. And I'm trying to even that out a little bit so that it will be even when I go to put it in the die cutting machine. And then I'm just using some low tacked tape, and this keeps the items together on the paper so that when you put it through the machine they don't slide. And I put it on my hand because it puts a little bit of, I don't want to say dirt, but it makes it less sticky so that you can actually take it off after you put it through the die cutting machine. Because the die cutting machine actually presses down on the paper, sometimes the tape actually gets stuck to the paper, and then when you try to take the tape off, it rips the paper and you have to start over with the piece. So I put that through the big shot machine, and then I take it out. And as you see here, I start to remove the die from the paper, and you actually see that the tape is stuck to the paper because it was still too sticky. So I just take my scissors and I carefully remove that, and then on the other side it's placed as well. You just have to be a little careful. Sometimes it will rip your paper and it'll make you want to have to start, well, you'll have to start over because your card won't look that good. The same thing, it was kind of intricate, so I sped this up a little bit, used an X-Acto knife, and then I had to use a different tool because that wasn't working. I was afraid I was going to cut my finger. So this is me trying to take out all the little pieces from the die cut, and I mess around with it for a while. I tried to scrape the backs of it off, push it through, and then scrape it off again. This could be a little boring, but I wanted to keep it in the video because as card makers, think sometimes it takes like forever to do things. I was going to manually cut this, but then I decided, oh, I think I have some dies that might fit this. You can see my little fingers working there, trying to thinking. And then I finally remember I do have some dies. I believe this is from, I can't give you the name right now, but it's a stitch circle die, um, from Memory Box, I believe. And so I'm lining this up and just making sure that it fits and it's not going to cut any part of the other die cut. And I try to reuse stuff, so I took the tape from the dies that were stuck, ripped it in half, and then I'm going to use this to actually hold that die in place into the Big Shot machine. And apparently I had a little issue there. And then I'm going to stick it on the other side, and then I'm going to place it in the Big Shot machine here in a second. I'm bringing it up. I have the Big Shot machine right beside me, so I pull it up every time I need to use it. And I put this through. It cuts it perfectly out. It looks really nice. No issues here. And let's see here. Okay, so I have the piece, and I believe I pick up the paper here just to match it up to see if everything looks okay. I believe I'm done with this medallion. Either a medallion or mandala, whatever, mandala you want to call it. Just making sure it matches up. And again, I have a few things that I need to take out, and I believe I actually cut a lot of this out of the video because it took me a while to get all the pieces out. Or actually, I did a fast forward. So here I am. I'm actually putting the pieces together, making sure everything's fitting correctly. And I'm actually going to put this together now. So I'm going to get some multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to stick it on the back. I believe it's by Tombow is the name of the company. I'm going to stick this on the bottom gold part, and I'm going to line up the tips with the tips of the gold piece and making sure that they're covered up because I only wanted the round portions of the bottom die cut to show. And then to take off the sharp or the pointy pieces, I took my scissors and removed those pieces that were showing a little bit over the purple. Not many of them were showing, so I think it was okay. And then I'm going to take the other circle there, and then I'm going to glue that on top of the purple one. And I believe I speed this up a little bit because I was putting a lot of glue in the areas. There we go. And I'm going to place that on top and make sure that it's even with the purple portion of this medallion. And I press it down to make sure that everything is sticking together. I'm going to place it to the side so that I can start actually cutting my paper for the actual card base. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting the paper here. Sorry, the paper cutter is out of frame here, so you may not be able to see what I cut this at. But I believe I cut it at about 4 or 3 1/4 maybe tall, and then I put this, I believe, at maybe 5 inches. I'm sorry. I'm not for sure. I can't really remember. I'm not really good at the measurements. I just pretty much go by eye. I believe this was 3 1/4, maybe. I can't really tell. Okay, so it looks like I cut this at 3 1/2, and then I cut it at 5 inches here, I believe. Yeah, 3 1/2 by 5. Sorry that I can't give you the exact measurements. I'm trying to do a voiceover for this, and it's kind of small, so I'm actually having to squinch just to see it. So I have my 2 pieces of paper here, and I'm gonna do this on a diagonal. And so I'm gonna get some glue here, or actually I'm gonna do some fun foam. I'm gonna prop this up on the purple cardstock. It's a little bit more burgundy, I believe, a little redder than purple. So what I'm going to do here is make sure that it fits the smaller piece, and then I'm going to get some glue. This is a tape runner for Tombow. It's new, and of course it ran out, so I'm going to get my other Tombow runner, which works fine for this. There's not really an issue, but they stopped making that one, so I'm going to have to move to a different brand or a different one by Tombow. Maybe the first one that I used, but I'm out of. So I'm going to sit this on a diagonal here, a little uneven, and this really doesn't stick to the fun foam, so I have to pull out the big gun, and this is fine, but then it gets stuck here for a second, and I have to fix it, and then I have to roll it on a few more times. It really doesn't stick that well. If you have a glue that sticks to fun foam, please let me know, because I would really like to buy that glue. It's not always easy. I guess I could use liquid glue if I really wanted to. So I'm setting this on a diagonal, and I'm just going to press that down to make sure it sticks. And then I'm going to reach for my little purple square there. I have a purple square that I'm going to heat emboss with some gold embossing powder. I'm using my EK Success powder tool there to take some static electricity off the paper. And then I'm using the Let's Be Friends Forever sentiment from this set. I'm going to dip this down or stamp it down into Versamark ink that's used for embossing. I have it labeled there. It makes it easy to remember. And then I'm going to play around with this a little bit more just to make sure it's right. And I'm going to stamp it down. I'm going to make sure I get a pretty good stamp on it so that all the powder sticks to the sentiment. And then I'm going to get my coffee filters out with my gold powder and take the powder out there. My gold embossing powder. It's Ranger. I think it's Princess Gold is what it is. And I'm going to pour this on the cardstock. And then I'm going to tap it off a little bit just to make sure there's no extra pieces. And I believe it needed a little more, so I'm going to put some more on there. I'm going to tap this off again. And then I'm just going to take the powder that's in the coffee filter and put it back in the jar. I actually don't even have a coffee maker. I took these from work. Oopsie. So I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to get my heating tool out so that I can heat emboss this. But I believe before I heat this up, I actually see that there's loose pieces of embossing powder around the sentiment. So I'm going to take a brush and just brush some of that off so that it does not stick to the card and melt onto it when I go to heat this up. And I speed this up because you don't want to watch the whole thing, but I'm heat embossing it. You can see it's actually working there. It goes from a powder to like a solid piece onto the card. Then I do not have the measurements for this because I was just eyeing it, but I'm going to cut this down into a smaller square so it can fit on the card. I cut all sides of it. Yeah, I just eye these things. I really don't keep measurements for everything. It's a little too hard to really do that. And not every time I make something, I'm writing down the measurements for it. So I finished cutting this up. It's cool. The size is cool for what I need. And then I'm measuring it here because I'm going to actually try to measure the gold glitter paper with this. And of course, I do not do that. I actually just stick it onto the glitter paper and then eye the cut there. Never do the measurements. Too hard. Too much time. Making sure that it fits on the glitter paper, and then I'm going to glue this down with the Tombow glue. Excuse me. I'm going to put this down and put it pretty even onto the glitter paper. Having to line it up a little bit there just to make sure that it's right. And I glue it down and I move it a little bit just to make sure that it's in the right place. And then I'm going to grab some Nina cardstock. It's going to be my card base. I already have them pre-cut next to my desk. It just saves time. And I'm going to take the purple and I guess that's like a peacock pattern. And then I'm going to start placing these on the card just to see like exactly where I want to have them. I go back and forth a little bit with this. I finally figure out what I want here, and then I'm going to take a strip of this glitter gold paper and just cut a small strip from it. And what I want to do with this is put it along the side of the card to give it a little bit more, I guess, texture and a little bit more oomph to the card. It was a little boring to me, so I thought the little strip may help with this. So I'm going back and forth trying to figure out exactly where I want to put it, and this seems to be the place that I'm going to place it. I'm going to glue this onto the card base first. I always use liquid glue for this because I can never get it right when I use the glue tape. I stick it down onto the cardstock and then it doesn't go on right, and then I try to pull it up and it rips, and then you have to start over. It's just a waste of paper. I get a little bit on my finger there actually, and then I start to try to press this down and it's just not working. I didn't want to make a mess, so I wipe off my hands, and I kind of need to hurry on this because the glue can dry pretty quickly. And I'm lining this up, and then I discovered there's a little issue. I guess the card base wasn't folded correctly when I first set these up, so it's a little bit off, but at the end of the video I actually cut that off, I believe, off camera. So I get that on there, and then it's gonna be, I'm gonna take this square and place everything back onto the card again, just to make sure I have it everywhere that I need it to be. And then, yeah, there I go again. I'm playing around. I fast forward a little bit this with you guys so that you don't have to watch the whole thing. And then I'm going to take the medallion and I'm going to put a piece of fun foam on the back of that because I want to pop it up on the card. And I just use some of that Tombow glue that's on the side there. It's good enough to hold the paper, or hold the foam to the paper. And then I'm going to place it back onto the card and play around with it a little bit more. I'm going to check to make sure everything is lined up and it's the way I want it to be. I have the sentiment offset there a little bit. I'm going to use this glue again. It does actually stick this time, which is nice. And I'm going to go ahead and place that exactly where I want it to be on the card. I could have chosen not to press this down and left it where it was so that I could lift it back up if I wanted to, but I was pretty sure that's where I wanted it to stay. Then I'm going to take some liquid glue and put it on the back of the sentiment, and then I'm going to place this on the card exactly where I need it to be. And I'm going to press it down. That'll dry while I'm still working on the card. And while that's drying, I'm actually going to cut the piece of the glitter paper. I'm going to put it on there a few more times to see exactly where it needs to go. I see where I want it, and then I'm going to actually cut a little bit off of each end so it's not as long on the card. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and glue this up. Oops, I actually grabbed the powder by accident. I'm going to grab that glue and just put a thin strip of glue down the side. And then I'm going to place this on the card. I had a little issue with it. I didn't want to get the glue all over the paper. Even though it dries clear, it would be a little shiny. So I played around with this a little bit. And then once I got it where I wanted it to be, I pressed it down onto the card. And then what I do is I actually lift up the card. I want to cut off those edge pieces from the card. So I turn the card around and then I clip the sides. So you always want to do it this way so that you make sure you get all the piece of the strip. And always do it from the back so you can make sure you have that. So I believe this is the end of the card. Yeah, that's it. It's done. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan to have more. It's a little harder than I thought it would be, but there we go. That's the finished card. I hope you have a great week, and thank you for watching. Bye.